What's that one cringe-inducing memory from years ago that you can't get out of your head? At the end of a great job interview, shook the guy's wrist instead of his hand and held on like I meant to do it. Didn't get the job. He just didn't know the secret handshake. This reasoning makes me feel so much better. He didn't hire you because he didn't want to be embarrassed again about not knowing the secret handshake. You were a great example for him. He went off to study secret handshake so he won't make that mistake again. A friend's husband had a job interview, and when he walked into the room there were 3 people, 2 men and a woman sat behind a table. He started at the left and shook the first guy's hand, then the second guy's hand in the middle. When he got to the woman on the right, he put his right hand out, and to his horror he saw that she had a prosthetic claw thing instead of a right hand. She had obviously come across this before, and so she just put her left hand out. Instead of just shaking hands using his left hand, he was so flummoxed that he did an awkward upside-down handshake with his right hand to her left hand. He was convinced that he'd completely messed up the interview, as his brain kept saying to him, "What the fuck did you do that for?" He was amazed to get the job, and on his first day he met the woman again, who told him that he thought the whole thing was hilarious. He worked with her for a few years, and apparently every time they met, they'd do the weird upside-down right-left handshake. Edit: wow, this really blew up overnight. My highest rated comment ever. An added detail about this is that we met this couple when we were living in London. Neither us or the other couple were from London originally, and had only met through where my wife worked at the time, as a nurse at a large London hospital. The job interview was at a civil engineering company that was something to do with digging tunnels for London Underground. We were told the story while we were sat at the table at a mutual friend's wedding when he'd told the story. After we'd all had a good laugh, my wife said that she'd gone to school, about 200 miles away from London, with a girl who had a prosthetic hand and was known for her wicked sense of humor, and that she'd heard that she worked for London Underground in some capacity. Lo and behold, it was the same person. Not a massively interesting story in its own right, but a nice little detail. Went for an interview and handed the person my coat when they were trying to shake my hand. Update: I did not get the job, unfortunately. A few years later I went to another interview during which my stomach would not stop growling, which is one of my worst nightmares made real. Somehow got a job there, lol. When they take your coat confused, you sit in their chair and begin interviewing them. So, why should I work for you? Why is this job open? Why does everyone keep leaving? Actually a legitimate question, lol. At least the first one. The time my internet access was shot over a weekend, so I went to work as usual on Monday, and stayed and worked all day. And only found out I'd been fired the week before when I got home. Small, very high-profile business. Everyone was acting weird all day. I soft-broil myself to sleep in this memory. Edit: for all the people mentioning our and legal technicalities, this was a very small firm. The owner was famous within the field. Think of a celebrity with a staff of 7 people. No HR, no manager, just a small group of people glad to work there. I was there as a freelancer. Who the fuck doesn't call for a termination? I feel like this is the business's fault. That does seem counterintuitive. Happy Cake Day. Reverse. They didn't call or pull you aside? I wouldn't have the confidence to pull someone who's been fired and gone to work anyway aside. A man like that must possess some sort of knowledge I'm too primitive for. Or shoddy Wi-Fi, but I'm not taking the chance. Yeah. Your first thought would be this dude is going full postal any moment now. I fell asleep in my high school history class. I was all the way in the back of the room so the teacher never noticed. Until I farted in my sleep so loud that it woke me up and my head shot up and smacked against the back wall. Never heard the end of it. Edit, holy cow, this is my first ever post on here, thanks everyone. Edit 2, since a couple people asked, at the time nobody really reacted. Except the guy in front of me was just kind of shaking. He turned around to look at me and was laughing so hard he was crying. Also should mention my crush was 2 seats over roof. So much stuff happened in the span of 2 seconds. I feel you there. I fell asleep in class once and when periods changed, the teacher had everyone silently leave while he taped a note to my head that said "Do not disturb." I slept for another 3 periods and each teacher had the students come in and leave quietly. Woke up in a history class with a teacher I never had, not as bad as yours but still I feel you. Me pooping in my pants in 1st grade because I thought pooping in toilets other than my own is illegal. Haha. I'm actually impressed that you made it all the way to 1st grade without pooping somewhere other than your own toilet. Like not a hotel room, family member's house, daycare, store. He did poop somewhere else. In his pants. Also there's a stash under the monkey bars. I was so anxious about asking to use the restroom during class in my first couple years of elementary school that I pissed myself semi-regularly and just tried to hide it for the rest of the day. Actually, I completely forgot about that until I read your comment. Wow. I was a weird kid. Trying to run away from home when I was 6 only to stop at the start of the driveway because I was always told that it was dangerous to walk on the street without an adult. My parents had this really nice photo of me, with my little backpack, standing there looking really conflicted. My sister ran away when she was like 11 or so. She left a note that said, "You'll never find me, I'm at neighbor's house. We found her. How did you manage to find her?" He made a beginner mistake. When looking closely at the goodbye letter, a professional detective will right away pick up the clue. She wrote that she is at neighbor's home. A nod to the fact that she is at neighbor's home. Elementary, my dear Watson. You just have to be mindful of the details left out. Lamau, same here. Loaded a half-gallon of milk, a banana, my toy fire truck, and a pillow into a small basket and made it to the end of my driveway before realizing my favorite cartoon was probably gonna start, so couldn't miss it. Ran face first into a bench when I was 16 and cried ha ha. Only one person saw, and of course it was my crush at the time. Oof. Did she come and help you, at least? Could have been an ideal opportunity to live out the plot of a romantic comedy movie. I was at a restaurant with my extended family once. We were visiting them and this wasn't a place I had been to before. On our way out I speed walked straight into the glass door, knocked myself back, and started crying. I'd how old I was, but I think in the 10 to 12 range. Anyway, literally seconds later there was a staff member with a bag of ice and they said to my dad, hopefully she doesn't feel bad. I've seen full-grown men take themselves out on this door.